world changers, can any of you guess what sport we're talking about today? If you guessed golf, then you are right. How many of you out there love to play golf or watch it on TV? It's a fun sport, but it takes a lot of practice to get it right. And when you practice something a lot, you'll most likely mess up along the way. Today we are going to talk about how sometimes we might fail, but God never fails. In fact, that is today's big idea. God never fails. Let's say it together. God never fails. Great job, everyone. Now, I need to go find that golf ball I hit. I'll see you later.
If you know anything about golf, you know the name Tiger Woods. Within his first 12 years in the game, he won a remarkable 65 PGA tournaments and 14 majors, more than anyone ever in the sport. In 2000, he was named Best Athlete of the Decade. That is 10 years. Best Athlete? That's crazy. Things in Tiger's life didn't always go as planned, even though he had the gift of being an amazing golfer. He hit a slump and basically left the game for many years. What was that? Aren't we talking about comebacks? I'm glad you asked. Of course we are. After winning non-stop, Tiger hit a 3-year stint of no wins, which put him in a pit that no one ever expected him to come out of. After many years out of the game, Tiger came back to win the Masters in 2019. Talk about a comeback story.
When it comes to a great comeback story, the truth of it all is that it's never just about us. Our lives have a big impact on those around us. That reminds me of today's Bible story. Oh, how I love the Bible. It's God's word for us. Today, we are looking at the life of Samson, found in Judges 13 through 16. Let's check it out.
This is Samson.
Hey!
Who was the last judge of Israel. Samson was very strong, and he was supposed to bring God's people victory over their enemies, who were the Philistines. Now Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah.
Oh, hey there.
Hi.
And the Philistines came to Delilah.
What's going on?
And convinced her to find out what the secret to Samson's strength was. They promised her a great amount of money if she could do this.
Now you're talking.
Hey!
Come in.
So Delilah said to Samson, "Please tell me what makes you so strong, and what would it take to tie you up securely?"
Well...
Samson replied, "If I were tied up with 7 new bowstrings that have not yet been dropped, I would become as weak as anyone else."
You ain't here.
So the Philistine rulers brought Delilah 7 new bowstrings,
Look what I got.
Go on, try.
and she tied Samson up with them.
Haha, see?
Oh no, Samson.
She cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you." But Samson snapped the bowstrings,
Let me at him!
so the secret of his strength was not discovered.
Hey, wait a minute.
Afterward, Delilah said to him, "You've been making fun of me and telling me lies. Now please tell me how you can be tied up securely."
Alright.
Samson replied, "If I were tied up with brand new ropes that had never been used, I would become as weak as anyone else."
Let me try.
So Delilah took new ropes and tied him up with them.
See?
Oh no.
And again Delilah cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you."
What? Where? Let me at him!
But again Samson snapped the ropes from his arms.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Then Delilah said, "You've been making fun of me and telling me lies. Now tell me, how can you be tied up securely?"
Alright, I'll tell you.
Samson replied, "If you were to weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric on your loom and tighten it with a loom shuttle, I would become as weak as anyone else."
Now we got him.
So while he slept, Delilah wove the 7 braids of his hair into the fabric. Again she cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you."
Let me at him!
But Samson woke up and yanked his hair away from the loom and the fabric.
You gotta be kidding me.
Then Delilah pouted. How can you tell me I love you when you don't share your secrets with me?
Come on.
No.
You've made fun of me 3 times now, and you still haven't told me what makes you so strong. She tormented him with her nagging day after day until he was sick to death of it.
All right already.
Finally, Samson shared his secret with her. My hair has never been cut, for I was dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as anyone else.
Well, that's it.
Thank you.
Delilah realized he had finally told her the truth,
Hey, you.
so she sent for the Philistine rulers. Come back one more time, she said, for he has finally told me his secret. So the Philistine rulers returned.
Oh, Samson.
Delilah lulled Samson to sleep. And then she called in a man to shave off the 7 locks of his hair. Samson's strength left him. Then she cried out, Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you. When he woke up, he thought, I will do as before and shake myself free.
Oh, what's going on?
But he didn't realize the Lord had left him. So the Philistines captured him and took him to prison.
4! Oh. Sorry, Lassie. I just had to get one final swing in before the Leprechaun Open.
Okay. So what's the Leprechaun Open? And more importantly, who are you?
I'm Scotty Parr. My family's from Ireland, but I'm from New Mexico. But the Leprechaun Open is a competition that I compete in every single year, and I've won it every single year. But it was 2018. The birds were flying. The sky was blue. The wind coming in from the northeast. And all I had to do was sink a hole in one. But then
What?
But then the babies, they just keep crying and causing a big fuss. And I missed the shot, I lost it, and I lost the Leprechaun Open.
So then what did you decide to do?
I decided to become the best golf player ever and never fail again.
Oh, okay. So have you ever played a perfect game before?
No.
Oh, okay, cool. I haven't ever played a perfect game before of golf or, really done anything perfect, all the time, so I don't really,
Now that I'm thinking about it, I do see that is kind of a high achievement to gain. So I'll rethink that and I'll come up with a better plan.
I think that's a good idea. But do you want to know what's really cool?
Sure.
Is that we have a God that never fails. That's today's big idea. God never fails. So how about we go over today's big idea together?
Sure.
Are you guys ready? All right, let's say it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. God never fails. Awesome job, everybody.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna go work on this new technique that I've been trying for the Leprechaun Open, and I'm gonna win it.
Go for it.
4!
Good luck.
All right, world changers, it is now time to get up on your feet and worship God. This is one of my favorite parts of the service where we get to sing and dance to show God just how much we love him. In this song, we are saying open the heavens, which is basically a prayer asking God to work in and through our lives. Are you up on your feet? All right, let's go.
Open the heavens. So today, we have been talking all about the fact that God never fails. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about a guy in the Bible who had a few fails to his life. In fact, we would call it an epic fail. Have you ever heard that before? When you have like an epic fail, it would be something like on YouTube where somebody tries a really cool trick and it doesn't go like they planned. Or they try to make this like cool cake or some kind of project and it just falls a little short of what they were expecting. That's what we would call an epic fail. Like this was how it was supposed to turn out and this is how it did, and they just aren't as great as we imagine. Today, as we talk about the life of Samson, we see a lot of epic fails. But the good news is at the very end, we see him make the right choice and fulfill the call that God had on his life all along. But as we get to that point, I want us to learn a little bit about epic fails and how they can help us in our life. So the first one is that an epic fail doesn't just happen out of nowhere. It's not like, oh, I didn't mean to this one time. And as we look at the life of Samson, that's exactly what happened. It wasn't just one bad day, one big mistake. It was many little decisions that he made that compromised what God wanted to do in his life. It was those little things that he decided that weren't a big deal, and then it turned into a big failure. For instance, he was what was called a Nazirite. From birth, he was called to make this choice to stand out, to be a little different than other people. Here were some of his rules. One thing, he wasn't supposed to touch anything dead. No touching dead things. Rule number 2, don't cut your hair. Just don't cut it. He could have long hair, that's fine. And then number 3, there were certain things that he was not allowed to drink. These rules might not seem like a big deal. There were little things here and there, but these were decisions that he was supposed to make on the front end, not to do in order to honor God with his life and everything. So like he had these rules, and yet one by one, he ended up doing all 3 of those things. And little by little, he saw the power of God leave him. It kind of reminds me of this. Have you guys ever done a paint by number before? This is going to be an awesome picture of Minnie Mouse, and I love all things Disney. And what it does, it tells me exactly what number to color what color. So if I were to follow all 6 of these, there's a total of 6 colors. If I were to follow all 6 of these, I would have an awesome masterpiece. But imagine if I decide just to, get my markers out, and it says black, but I have blue, and so I'm gonna just color in some of these spots wherever I feel like. And at the end of it, if I were to color the whole thing that way, am I ever gonna get to the masterpiece that it's supposed to look like? I cut corners. I did things my own way, and because of that, my result is gonna be not an amazing picture like it could be, but a picture that just misses the mark a little. You could even call it an epic fail. It wasn't just one time, one thing. It was one little decision at a time to make a compromise, to do things that you're not supposed to do. That's kind of like what happens with us sometimes. Little decisions, they don't seem like a big deal, but then we decide to go ways that aren't the way of God. We aren't obeying. We aren't doing what's right. We aren't being kind to others. These little things can often lead to big failures. But the good news that we get to go back to every time is that our God never fails. And it doesn't matter how big the fail seems, God is able to use that in our lives. Our second point is an epic fail happens when we aren't prepared. We look at Samson, and there were these opportunities that just kept coming to him. He was so strong. He was so brave. He was a great warrior. And so, of course, he wanted to flex that strength. He wanted to show people how amazing he was. He wasn't prepared to make that decision little by little by saying, you know what, I'm gonna honor God no matter what. And for us to avoid these epic fails, we have to make that decision. And our decision often looks like wanting God's way more than our own way. That decision says, you know what, I'm gonna spend more time praying and talking to God than doing things that I'm not supposed to do. Little choices help us to avoid big epic fails. Now, our last point is that God redeems an epic fail. Redeem is kind of a big word. Redeem basically is a word that says exchange. How many of you have ever been to Chuck E. Cheese before? I love going to Chuck E. Cheese. And when you go, you get to get one of these awesome play passes. And when you use this play pass, you can go to any of the games on the whole game floor, and you can play and play, and then you start getting points. You start getting more tickets and tickets and tickets until the end you have an armful of all these tickets. And before you leave, there's one little thing that you have to do. You put all of your tickets into this awesome machine, and then you're given a receipt. You have redeemed your tickets and you're given this receipt with a number on it. Then you get to go, if you have ever been there before, you would know. You get to go to this amazing prize station and pick out whatever that number tells you that you have enough to pick. That is what redeeming looks like. I give you a worthless piece of paper, a receipt with a number on it, and they give me an amazing prize because I've earned it. I've redeemed what I had that was kind of useless for something really amazing that I get to play with later. When God redeems our failures, it's just like that. We give him something, especially when it's a fail. It is not worth anything. It's actually pretty bad. And God is going to redeem that and change it for his grace, his joy, his forgiveness. Everything that God is, he redeems our fails for his goodness and his grace in our lives. So no matter what the fail looks like, we can know and we can rest assured that God never fails and he is good at redeeming my failures. And now it's time to respond to today's word. First, share with your family your most epic fail. Talk about what you learned from that fail. Pray that God would help you in areas of struggle.
Fails happen. It's a part of life and learning. But the good news is God never fails. And when we have our less than awesome moments, God is there to lift us up and help us get a fresh start. That's what a comeback is all about. Now, let's go over today's big idea one more time. God never fails. Thanks for popping on today. And just remember, you're God's kids. He has plans for you. He loves you like crazy. And we do too. We'll see you later.